Breaking news. For the first time in history, a major Western power has officially recognized the State of Palestine. France has taken a bold diplomatic leap, shaking global politics and drawing sharp reactions from allies and adversaries alike. The announcement made by President Emmanuel Macron has sent ripples through the United Nations, the Middle East, and Western corridors of power. What does this mean for Israel, the United States, and the future of peace in the region? Here's everything you need to know. On July 24, 2025, French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed that France will formally recognize Palestine as an independent state. This declaration is scheduled to be officially presented at the United Nations General Assembly in September. With this move, France becomes the first G7 nation, and one of the first major powers in the Western world, to grant official recognition to Palestinian statehood. The decision is rooted in growing concern over the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding in Gaza and the urgent need to revive the stalled two-state peace process. French leadership emphasized the need for global action toward a just and lasting resolution, grounded in international law and diplomacy. The reaction from Israel was swift and severe. Israeli officials condemned France's recognition, stating that it undermines ongoing security efforts and risks legitimizing extremist factions. The United States echoed similar concerns, publicly criticizing the timing and implications of the announcement. In response to the shift in diplomatic tone, both the U.S. and Israeli delegations withdrew from ongoing ceasefire negotiations in Qatar, citing a breakdown in trust and a lack of good faith participation from Hamas. Meanwhile, the announcement drew immediate support from key international stakeholders. The Palestinian Authority welcomed France's decision, viewing it as a long overdue affirmation of their right to sovereign statehood. Several Arab nations, including Saudi Arabia, expressed solidarity with the move. Within Europe, politicians from the UK, Ireland, and several EU member states voiced approval, suggesting that France's stance could lead to a broader wave of recognitions across the continent. Analysts now expect countries like Belgium, Ireland, and Luxembourg to possibly follow suit during upcoming diplomatic sessions. Prior to this announcement, more than 130 of the 193 United Nations member states already recognized the State of Palestine. However, none of the G7 nations, which include the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Japan, Canada, and Italy, had taken that step. France's action breaks that line and could serve as a catalyst for other influential nations to reconsider their positions. As the global conversation shifts, France is positioning itself as a leading voice for multilateral diplomacy on the Israeli-Palestinian issue. France plans to formalize the recognition in a high-level speech at the United Nations General Assembly, timed with the International Conference for the Peaceful Settlement of the Question of Palestine, set for July 28th to 29th in New York. The timing is not coincidental. It is intended to amplify diplomatic momentum during a moment of crisis in the Gaza Strip. Humanitarian aid is struggling to reach civilians, and ceasefire talks have repeatedly broken down. France's recognition sends a message that continued inaction is no longer acceptable on the world stage. Observers say that while symbolic, the recognition also brings real political pressure. It forces the hand of allies who have so far remained silent or neutral and encourages international institutions to revisit resolutions and aid efforts tied to the region. The move also complicates the already delicate alliance between France and the United States, whose administration has strongly opposed unilateral recognition of Palestinian statehood outside of negotiated peace terms. This breaking development raises several critical questions. Will France's move lead to tangible peace negotiations? Will it open the door for other G7 or EU countries to make similar announcements? Or will it deepen divisions and trigger further instability in an already volatile region? As France prepares to present its formal statement at the UN, global leaders are now under pressure to respond, not just in words, but in action. France's recognition of Palestine may prove to be a defining moment in 21st century diplomacy. With the Middle East in crisis, peace talks stalled, and civilians bearing the brunt of conflict, the time for symbolic gestures may be over. Whether this marks the beginning of real political change or simply a new chapter of division, one thing is clear: global diplomacy around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has entered uncharted territory. Thank you for watching. This is the Continental Brief. Stay informed, stay engaged.